live.
Hey everybody, welcome back to On the Verge podcast. We're coming to you tonight live from Salem. Yes, that's right. We are in session. So as you know, if you follow politics, when we are in session, we can do the most damage to the state. So usually it's always a good sign when we're not in session. But anyway, I'm home for the evening and I welcome everybody back. It's nice to be able to get back in front of everybody. We're going to give you a little bit of a follow up on what's happened this week and last week, a little update on politics that's happening in Salem. I know there's a lot of questions out there, particularly around a couple of things, the transportation package and also the disconnect and a few other things. But before we get started, I want to thank my sponsors, as always, Becky Holmes Insurance, Andrea Williams Advocare, Bill Hagedorn Construction, and David Brocksmith, our senator, is also part of our sponsorship. And Little Mo Media is the guy on the other end of the camera, is looking back at us, making us look good, I think, right, Trent? Something like that. Although tonight we're going remote. We're both remote, so you're not seeing the studio that we normally shoot in, and that's just because we're not there to do it. Anyway, we also have, let's see, there's a few other things that I want to follow up with here. Let's just start off with, I want to introduce Trent. Trent's my co-host. Trent, who are you and what do you do?
Hey, Trent Drake. I am the Douglas County Republican Central Committee Chair and Virgil's campaign manager and just all around networking dude for our local Republican committee.
Thank you for always being my co-host. Hey, and there was something I wanted to mention to you. I'm just going to say it because I didn't write it down, but is it not time for PCPs to sign up with the SL 105?
Yes, and you have until March 10th. If you're interested in being a PCP, don't know what that is, feel free to message me or contact me, and I would love to sit down with you, have a cup of coffee, go over what that is and what that entails to get involved with us locally in the Republican Party.
Right on. And if you don't know what a PCP is, and Trent can obviously fill you in on that, but if you do want to get involved locally in politics, really, it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. PCPs, you have them on both sides, but we prefer, since this is a conservative podcast, we do prefer that you want to be a PCP on our side, on our team, but it makes a huge difference because it's an elected position. Initially, it's appointed or can be appointed to a district that you live in. And then it's an elected position that you only need a few votes to get that position. But it gives you the ability to vote on things like appointments coming up for, when somebody like even myself, if I vacated my position, it would give you an option of being able to vote on my replacement. So it's pretty important. Also, it gives you the ability to vote on the Central Committee stuff as well. And anyway, so it's definitely something to look into. And speaking of that, I did actually attend one of your Central Committee meetings last Thursday night, Trent, and I saw a new face or two there, which was kind of nice. I never can think of his name. I think it's Chance or something like that, and a younger guy that.
James.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, he's joining up. Had a nice conversation on the phone with him prior to the meeting, and we met for coffee. And it was nice to see some young faces that are interested in getting into politics. At some point, I think he's kind of looking to move up the ladder. So yeah, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
If he's watching tonight, thank you for watching and thanks for meeting with me as well. I see we're starting to build up a little bit of a stack of people on our thing here. So thank you for watching. Again, we will take comments and questions. We're going to have a little bit of a shorter meeting tonight because we have some other obligations to do, but we will take questions. We will take comments, and by all means, please like and follow us. We're on about 13 or so different platforms: Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, of course, here live on Facebook. The more you like us, the more you follow us, the more we get out in front of everybody. And the whole intent in this podcast is, I mean, of course, we're a little bit political. We're probably more partisan than some would like, but the whole intent of this podcast is to teach people government, to help people understand and be transparent about what really goes on. Most folks don't really have the time to sit down and watch and see what happens in Salem. They don't look at a television set or listen to the radio, but if you follow the podcast, you're able to actually follow what's going on, and we tell you the truth. And I'm sorry if you hear a little bit of background noise. My dog's running around the house here. Tucker's in Salem with me tonight, so he's busy. But anyway, well, let's go ahead and start out with this. It's been a rocky week and a half, and we've been through a ton of bills, and you're following, and I also should tell everybody, you can go to olis.gov, OLIS, Oregon Legislative Information System, I think is it, OLIS.gov, and you can follow everything that's happening. So in Salem, you can follow the bills, you can see who's voting on the bills, and literally you can see what my vote is. If you're not following that stuff, please take the time to follow it. I'm seeing Eric, the wine bottles are in the recycle bin. Yeah, so I've got some folks that work around the Capitol, and said that you can tell how rough a week it's been by how many wine bottles are in the recycle bin. So I don't drink very much, so it's not me. Anyway, Trent, before we start on some bills, do you have anything you wanted to update us on? I know we've got some upcoming things happening with the Republican Party.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank everybody that came out and visited us last weekend at the Sportsman Show. We're going to be right back there this weekend at the Knife Show. So if you'd like to come out and say hi to us, maybe buy some cool merch, sign up. We've got a great raffle for a Kimber 9mm. I believe that's a PRC. I think, I'm not sure. Anyways, cool little gun, $5 a ticket. And then if you want to talk about being a PCP, we can do that. And then rolling into the spring, our big event will be June 27th at Melrose Vineyards, and we're going to celebrate 250 years as a country. Going to be a great time. We'll have more on that to come here shortly in the next few weeks.
Sounds good. Do we have an incumbent party coming up too, or was that still kind of on the books?
Nope, that is in the works. That is going to be probably very first part of May. Okay. And I believe it's going to be at the Elks Lodge. Okay. And that's just going to be a thank you to our incumbent Republican candidates who have helped us, and really, it's a way to just personally say thank you. We've done a lot of changes in the Republican Party in Douglas County in the last year and a half. And, it's one of the things that's important is you need to give back to those guys that give so much, you guys, all of our, you and Alec and Court and David, and then of course our commissioners, not only have they done a lot for us, but for me personally, to help us be successful in our endeavor, helping all of you guys.
Right on. That's awesome. Outstanding. I'm really glad to see the Republican Party doing so well. Finally, we've got ourselves in a position in Douglas County where we're actually making some progress. I do have to comment before I talk about a few other things. Tracy Vandola, thank you, Tracy. She made a comment that I did a great job speaking out. If you don't know me and you watch my podcast long enough, you'll get to know me. But one thing I don't do is I don't take a beating without fighting back. And if you watched the floor session yesterday, you will see some folks. Well, you'd have to watch the whole thing to get to where you saw my response. But racism is real. It's a thing. It happens still today. But as well as discrimination for a host of other things, gender, whatever it may be. There's a time and a place, in my opinion, that the time and the place is not in the Capitol when literally surrounded by folks that are your equals. They're all state legislators and what have you. And, they all got there. It doesn't matter what color their skin is. It doesn't matter what their preference or sexual preference or what country they're from or any of that stuff. They're legitimately elected. And two of my colleagues were just going off on how basically calling everybody in the building racist if they weren't, frankly, if they weren't Black. And, I took it about as long as I could. And I finally decided that it was time to go ahead and say my piece. And I was really pissed off because although I do realize there is discrimination, and I completely understand that racism is a horrible thing, I do know a little bit about it, and I got to the point where I just had enough of it. So by all means, go on to olis.gov and watch yesterday's floor session. You'll see it gets a little heated. Fact of the matter is, I really am very transparent, and I can be your best friend, but I'm not going to be pushed around. That's just not who I am. I'm not going to be the guy that just goes along to get along. I'm there in that building for a reason. The people that voted for me put me in that place, and I'm supposed to stand up for them. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I will do. So anyway, thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. And it's nice to nice to have the support, and I I really appreciate it more than you'll ever know. Anyway, let's move on to some bills real quick. We have a ton of stuff going on. I'm going to hit the highlights of probably the most important ones. And I think everybody's aware of the election change bill. They're trying to move the referendum to May. I don't think it's a secret. If you don't know about it, then you're obviously not watching TV or not paying attention. But as of this morning, there were 3,768 pieces of testimony against moving it to May. There was 42 pieces of testimony in favor of moving it to May. And of those 42, several of them were actually mistaken. If you actually go in and read them, some of them were actually in favor of leaving that in the November ballot. And the reason, if you're not following, the reason the Democrats want to move that to November is because they don't want to move it to November, because they don't want it around the governor's neck. They frankly don't want the governor to have to be on the same ballot with the tax that she forced, the $4.3 billion tax that she forced on the people here in Oregon. So they're trying to get it out of the way in the primary. You can watch some of the social media on that. The president of the Senate, Rob Wagner, all but came out and said it. He said that this is political. They're not even trying to hide it. I mean, they're literally the bully party right now. And I'm not picking on Democrats. I'm picking on the legislature. I'm picking on the bully party in the legislature. And I know a lot of those folks are great folks, but you have to grow a pair, guys. You have to decide that you're in this seat because of the people that put you there, not for the agenda of the governor, not for the agenda of the Speaker of the House or the President of the Senate. You have to do it, or not. You can continue to be a pawn. I'll never be that pawn. So anyway, Trent, you got anything on that?
Oh, we don't have enough time, man. No, I one of the things too about bringing that to May, it gives them an opportunity to write the script in the voters pamphlet too, which could be confusing.
Yes. So we also have she formed a committee on that as well. So they're going to write it to where it looks like kind of like Measure 114, right?
Right.
And Measure 110. They tend to slight them in a direction where you don't really know what you're voting on. So, it sounds like a good idea. Next thing you know, you're stuck with this bill that changed everybody in the state's life forever.
Right.
So more to come on that tomorrow. I think at 1:00 is the work session for that bill. So, there should be, with that many pieces of testimony against it, it should never see a work session. If you don't understand how committees work, first you have to have a public hearing. Also, the public hearing is supposed to have time for people to testify, which this one didn't. They ran ahead and rammed it like always. They're breaking the Constitution in so many ways, but it goes to a public hearing, and then it's voted on by that committee to decide whether it goes to a work session. If it goes to the work session, which is happening tomorrow, if they vote it through, it goes to the House floor for a vote. Yeah, this was a House bill. So then it will come to us, and we will vote on it, and it will go to the Senate for approval, and then it'll either pass or fail. Hopefully we can hold off. There's lots of political maneuvering going on right now. Also, we're looking into some of the legitimacy of what the law says and the Constitution says. But hey, we don't follow the Constitution on the House floor. I point that out to them often. So, as we should be, but we don't. Let's see, what else? Transportation was up today, transportation package. The governor came to us, to our leadership, and basically said she really wants bipartisan support on the transportation package that they are now going to propose financially to replace this disaster that they started with. Our comment was this: you want bipartisanship on it, but you don't want to talk to us about it. You just want us to sign off on it so you can say, well, this is a Republican and a Democrat, bipartisan agreement. It's not. There's not a single part of the new direction that was something that we had in our plans. And there are some stuff that's in there that's not horrible. We can get into the details on that at another time, but they're still looking at $300 billion plus. They have decided to take out some of the positions that they do not that they feel are unnecessary, which I think that we asked them to do that. There is some, let's see, there's some earmarked funds that are supposed to go to projects that they're talking about taking out to save a little bit, to save millions of dollars here and there. Tier 1 reductions, they call it, $38 million. Some of those kind of things are going to be cut, but nothing about DEI, nothing about special waste of money. All of that stuff is still in the bill. So I was not in the building this afternoon, so I don't know how the committee hearing went on it, but I can only imagine because I did get a message from our leader, and it was not good. So show up for the work session tomorrow. Continue to beat the drum. I mean, we can't lay down and die. I mean, as much as it seems like sometimes you just feel like you're in a no-win situation, they're headed down a path that will change at some point, because you cannot continue to destroy the state financially and whatever you call it, and not expect at some point people are going to go, look, we've had enough. I mean, our state is in decline in almost every single topic. I mean, besides our schools being in the rears of all of the other states, our budget being in the hole, our businesses are leaving as fast as they can. I mean, we have issues, and I know some people will say, they'll watch this show and they'll say, well, what are you going to do about it? This is my problem. I am a state representative, and absolutely, I have ideas. I fight this, not just me, all 23 of you Republicans. We fight this stuff all the time, every day. We cannot get past the difference in the supermajority. So we can fight till we're blue in the face. We do sometimes get some changes here and there, but we have to have support at the voter box. People need to vote. We need to switch directions of this state and start heading in the direction that's going to be good for our entire state. Hopefully we can see that in the governor's election, but more so the House or the Senate. So anyway, okay. There's also a bill that is going through the House right now, and this one I actually kind of like. However, it does limit freedom of speech in some ways, I suppose, because it's a bill limit. So if you watch and follow the legislature, you'll know some people carry a lot of bills. I think, in the short session, we're only allowed 2 bills apiece, and then the committee bills they're allowed, I think it's 5 and some other stuff. Well, now they're talking about bill limiting representatives in the long session to 30 bills. And we have some of our representatives and some of our senators have as many as 250 bills. And like I said in the beginning of the show, when we're in session, we have the opportunity to hurt the state. When we're not in session and we're at home, we're not hurting you. But when we're in session, we have the opportunity to hurt somehow. So fewer bills is not a bad thing. Maybe we can focus on, if we have fewer bills, maybe we can focus on the things that are important. That would be great. So that bill's working its way through the House. We'll have to wait and see if it makes it to the floor. I don't know. Interesting part of this, and this is something everybody probably is not aware of. There are different ways you can write a bill and put it through the legislature, right? So your legislator, myself and my colleagues, we can write a bill, we can introduce it in the legislature, we can push it through. There's also an avenue for the governor, which we call the agencies, right? Those are her bills, and or whoever the governor is at that time, they can push a bill through too. They can actually start a bill in committee, and it's a committee bill. They don't have to go through a legislator. In 2023, the governor had 500 bills of the whatever there were. I think there were around 3,000 or 4,000 at one point. 500 of those were agency bills that were ran by the governor. In 2025, 300 of the bills were the governor's bills. So we are limiting, or this bill will limit the executive branch to 100 bills. So I know it sounds maybe like a reach, but anytime we can limit what our executive branch is doing, at this point anyway, until we get a Republican governor, I think it's a good thing. So I'm talking a lot, Trent. If you got something to add, go ahead.
No, I agree with that 100%. She shouldn't be legislating law for that's your guys' job.
Well, exactly, and that's the problem with Oregon. With the Oregon legislature, we get into the situation where we're running 15 ways from Sunday, and we're listening to, frankly, I'll tell you that this short session, not quite as bad as the long session was last year, but the long session was owned by the not the lobby, but the unions, SEIU, particularly the teachers union. They literally owned the session. Everything they wanted, they got, including Senate Bill 916 that was we're going to pay people to go on strike, right? I mean, to this day, I don't understand how a bill like that could possibly get through our legislature, but here we are, and yes, it did. So that means you're going to be able to go out on strike, and you don't need to worry about coming back ever, because the state's going to pay you, your wage. It's not like they're going to pay you like 50% of it. You're going to get paid. So We do some crazy stuff. Let's see. Okay, another bill that is very important, and if you're not following it, you should. It's House Bill 1507. It actually has a sales tax portion with it, but the point of it is it's a disconnect from the federal tax law. So most people don't understand what that means, but what that means, if you watch TV, you've heard of Trump's big beautiful bill, the HR 1. That bill gave everybody no tax on tips. It gave you no tax on, let's see, there's no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. You could write off your car interest loan, or on your loan, your interest rate, or your interest that you pay, you can write it off on your taxes, and a host of other things. And it locked into some long-term tax savings for the middle class. Frankly, it was a middle class bill, and some people will say that Trump's only catering to the millionaires or billionaires, but it really did do amazing things, and it made it permanent. States have the ability to disconnect from that, and House Bill 1507 is going to allow a disconnect from our state for the federal bill. So I found out today it's not as bad as I thought. They are not going to disconnect the part that allows tax on tips, or no tax on tips, or no tax on overtime. So we will still get that. That piece will still be happening, but they are going to take away your interest write-offs on your car loans, vehicle loans. So, and then there's a sales tax portion of it. It's House Bill 1507. It's something to take a look at. Again, they're digging for every dollar they can get, so that they can make up for the lack of management and accountability that has cost the state so much money. I feel like I am talking a lot tonight, but I don't know. It seems to be what I do these days.
Well, it's the same old song with the Democrats every year. It's, well, we've got to have more money, so let's just raise taxes. And I think we've hit a critical mass on the entire West Coast. I mean, you look at the state of California is really teetering with billionaire giants taking entire industries and leaving the state, and with them thousands of employees, thousands of tax dollars, and they're on the brink of disaster right now. Whether people want to believe it or not, that's the truth. That's what's going on down there. And if we keep going, that's exactly what they're trying to do here. Just more instead of manage the money that you have, which, isn't it interesting? We have we've taken in the largest amount of tax revenue in our history.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're not broke. The state acts like we're broke because we waste our money.
Right.
If we actually did what we are supposed to do with the money, we would have tons of money. Oh, which brings me to another topic, your kicker tax. They are trying to take your kicker away from you, or a portion of it. And I didn't get into the weeds on that, so I don't know what the exact percentage was, but I heard it was 300 million of the kicker tax they would like to take away. And that's constitutional. So the legislature has to basically take that out of the Constitution or change the Constitution. I mean, we are doing so many things that, it's funny. I often hear the far right talk about, and I'm not going to mention names, but how unconstitutional and crazy our Republican, senators and representatives are. It's like, they don't know the half of it. I mean,
right.
Come to Salem, come to my office, sit in my office, and go to some of the meetings that I do, and then while you're at it, go to the floor session with me, and you'll see what unconstitutional looks like, and you'll find out that you'll know exactly who's pulling the unconstitutional crap. It doesn't take long, and we push back pretty hard. And I should say, Representative Yunker, myself, and Representative Scarlatos, we're probably known for our pushback. We just don't take any crap from the Democrats. Now, doesn't mean we're always going to win, but we never sit down and take it. I mean, we don't compromise our values, and we never will. I know I see a lot of stuff going on there. Let's see what thought, if any, on refining diesel and gas. Yeah. So somebody's asking about refining. I think putting a refinery in Oregon for diesel and gas. It would be amazing if we would do that. It would make all the sense in the world, and a strong state would do just that. We're not a strong state. We are a strong environmentalist state, and they are never going to allow it because their feeling, and they being majority party, their feeling is we are moving away from not just natural gas, but oil, diesel, fuel, gasoline. They don't want that in the state. They want everything to go electric. So, which presents a whole nother issue, which is one other topic that happened today. We had a hearing in Climate, Energy, and Environment talking about the ability to bring back nuclear power to the state. And there's a study bill going through the House right now. I don't know if it's going to get out of committee. We'll have a work session on it, I believe, on Thursday, that would allow the study of nuclear energy. I did some quick lookups. France is 70% of their electricity comes from nuclear power. And people, I understand people should be afraid of I wouldn't say they'd be afraid of it, but people should respect the fact that nuclear has waste. But these new small nuclear reactors, they don't have the waste like the old Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island and some of that stuff. It's completely different technology. And also, if you just look around, our military's been, I think our first nuclear sub hit the water in the 50s, I think the late 50s. And we have so many nuclear powered submarines, aircraft carriers, and probably ships I don't even know about yet. They're floating around out in the ocean. Those are small nuclear reactors. That's exactly what they want to do in Oregon, or at least study it. If they started studying it today, it would probably be 25 years before they put in the first reactor. That's typical of timelines. So, our kids way down the road, after they eliminate natural gas and every other form of ability to heat your house and cook with, they will, hopefully, maybe their grandkids, our grandkids, will get to enjoy it. But it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so there is one good thing. If you do watch my social media, you'll see that I had a conversation with the governor in our committee about House Bill 4084, and that is a bill that actually does do good for business. Now, when she first introduced the bill as an agency bill, they introduced it, and it had some bars you had to meet to be able to get streamlined permitting in the state. And there was a lot of healthy discussion on streamlined permitting because, frankly, businesses don't want to come here because we're not business friendly, and it's really hard to get a permit to do anything.
Right.
However, with this particular bill, if your investment was $150 million, you get streamlined permitting, and then that's in an urban setting. In a suburban setting, it had to be $100 million, and you would get the permitting. And in rural Oregon, which is where I kind of lost it, was $50 million. So I had the discussion with the governor's office and my office about, hey, this needs to be lowered. The bar needs to be lowered. Nobody's going to come into Douglas County and drop $50 million on a business. They're going to come in. They're going to probably move into an old mill that we've managed to shut down and, start a business and have 20 employees, and they're going to do, 5, 10 million, who knows? And maybe at some point the business will grow. So the governor took it to heart. I actually was able to ask her in public and in the committee meeting, which was kind of nice. And they came back to my office and they lowered the bar to 25 million. So I still think it's a little high, and I suggested that it's better than 50. I'm good with half. That's better than nothing. So we're getting a little bit. But I also suggested they go by the number of employees rather than the amount of investment. So I think they're still negotiating on that. We'll see where it goes. But for what it's worth, I do appreciate the fact that at least she listened to what I had to say. And frankly, my job is to help, serve, and protect rural Oregon, because that's where I live, and not just Douglas County. I'm talking all rural Oregon. So anyway, Trent, with that, I want to thank some of our sponsors. We're not gonna stay on a long time tonight, but I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of our ads. And again, we have Becky Holmes Insurance, and she's been a sponsor now for quite some time. She's going to be a sponsor for a long time into the future. And I will tell you, before I even read the ad, this weekend I ran into an insurance issue. And it was one I could not answer. It was a Medicare insurance issue. And I didn't even want to bother her with it, but I called her. Not only did she actually do it, help me with it, she actually filled out the paperwork, brought it out to my house. I signed it, and she offered to take it to the Social Security office. And I'm like, I felt horrible, like I'd asked her to do too much, but she actually did all that for me.
Right.
And so I can't thank her enough. But I'm going to read her ad for you. Are you still getting Medicare calls? They are relentless. They claim that they can get you the moon, the stars, but can they? Most likely not. Just like with anything else, it's too good to be true. Find someone trustworthy, like Becky Holmes, which I can vouch for. And if you've moved, are turning 65, or just have questions about Medicare, Marketplace, or any of your other ins, call Becky, your trusted insurance agent. She's licensed in a dozen states and located right here in Roseburg, Oregon. Call 541-900-6001. That's 541-900-6001. And I rest assured you have my word that she will help you, and she is amazing. So please do that. Trent, I know you have Bill Hagedorn's information.
Yes, I do. Bill Hagedorn Construction. For all your construction needs, new additions, remodels, decks, fencing, flooring, and tile work, we have you covered. If we can't do it, we'll find someone who can. Check us out on Facebook and see some of our work today. Bill Hagedorn Construction, 541-817-3704.
Thanks, sir. And thank you, Bill. And again, a great friend and a wonderful contractor. And this one's one of my favorites. This is Andrea Williams. As a small business owner here in Douglas County, we know how it goes. Long days, too much caffeine, and not enough sleep. If your New Year's resolutions have already slipped, give yourself some grace. February is a better time to reset anyway. Find Andrea Williams, Advocare Distributor, on Facebook and reach out. She'll help you get back on track in a realistic way. Or visit her website at healthyhabittribe.org. That's healthyhabittribe.org. Andrea is amazing. She's been with us now for quite some time as a sponsor, and all these folks are great sponsors, as well as Senator Brock Smith. He also helps sponsor this. I'd like to tell you the podcasts are free. I suppose we probably could do a substandard version of a free version, but we don't do that. We use Little Mill Media. Those guys are awesome. If you don't like our podcast, like I always tell you, if you don't like what we have to say, it's a conservative podcast. There's other podcasts out there that are not conservative. But if you would like to start your own, go down and see Justin at Little Mill Media. I'm sure he's on the internet and everywhere else. And, we can start one for you. But rest assured, we aren't going to quit. So anyway, Trent, you got anything for closing? I'm sorry, I'd like to go longer tonight, but we have a meeting at 7. So we're going to have to.
So on February 27th, we'll be at the Home and Garden Show at the Douglas County Fairgrounds. We'll have a booth there again. But also, it'll be a chance to come by. There'll be several of our local candidates roaming through that day. And also, you'll have a chance to meet Monique Despain, who is running for Congress, who right now is actually doing quite well against her Democratic opponent, Val Hoyle.
Great. That's awesome. I didn't have a chance to catch all the questions tonight. I'm trying to look at them as I go here, but I do see Bob Murray made a comment. Every legislator that votes in favor of 1599 needs voted out. Amen to that, Bob. I don't
Yes,
think
sir.
I can agree with you any more than that. So it is campaign season. I do want to thank our commissioners. They're all campaigning right now too. They're doing some pretty amazing work. I'm sure some of the stuff that just recently happened with Commissioner Freeman getting the timber thing back in line. That's amazing stuff. I just went and helped Tom Kress out for doing some little sponsorship on some of his things too. Campaign season is probably the worst part of the job for anybody. What I do, we're elected every 2 years, so we campaign literally every time we walk out the door. Those guys are staring down a 4-year election, and it's tough work, but we do appreciate them, and they've all been great supporters, and I do work with them literally weekly. I don't think there's been a week that I can recall in history of that I've been in the office when I haven't been on the phone or an email or in a text with at least one of our 3 commissioners. So anyway, just want to give them some props there as well. So with that, thank you guys for joining us. Please continue to follow us, like us, ask your
Subscribe.
questions. Hey, there's Bill Hagedorn on there now. If you have questions or comments, go ahead and text them, email them, message me or Trent, and we will get back to you. Again, I'm sorry we got to cut short tonight, but we have a 7 o'clock meeting tonight, and so I've got to run. But until then, we are on the Verge podcast, and we are your conservative voice of Southern Oregon. Thank you for joining us, and please have a great rest of your week. And I'll do my best up here at Salem to protect your rights and keep things on the right side of where we want to be here. So with that, thank you all, and have a great night.